Good evening, I'm Wendy Mesley, and this is The National. North Korea barks a warning over U.S. aggression and shows of strength.
The North Koreans do not want to be seen as backing down, neither does Donald Trump.
We look at the real risks as war drums grow louder. 1 year since BC declared an opioid crisis, and even more people are dying.
What stands out is just the absolute devastation and sadness.
As other measures fail, could a controversial option gain support? Plus, stricter roadside rules are coming for pot and alcohol. The growing concern that they'll go too far. After a week of strong warnings from Washington, North Korea is promising a merciless response to any military action by the United States. It's tough talk, and we've heard it before. But with North Korea expected to test another nuclear device soon and a U.S. Navy strike group at its doorstep, the situation seems on the edge of a knife. Here are the players. Donald Trump with armed forces that just showed their might in Syria and Afghanistan. Kim Jong-un, the North Korean leader who's threatened to nuke both his neighbors and the U.S. And countries in the region, China, South Korea, and Japan, who are calling for restraint. Paul Hunter starts our coverage from Washington.
And all of a sudden, it's all eyes on North Korea. On the ground in Pyongyang, smiles and celebrations. This weekend marks the country's biggest national holiday. Traditionally, that's also prime time for flexing its military might. This year, the fear, another nuclear test. Aimed at deterring that, U.S. warships deployed to the Korean Peninsula. And with the new American strategy on North Korea said today to be, quote, maximum pressure and engagement, there's a report the U.S. is prepared to make a preemptive strike if it deems a nuclear test is imminent. Talk of that brought a harsh reply from North Korea. In an interview with the Associated Press, the country's vice foreign minister called the Trump administration vicious, adding if the U.S. shows what he called reckless aggression, Pyongyang is ready for war.
If they are cornered, if they see the regime about to collapse, then they might use the nuclear weapons in sort of a last desperate measure. That's the danger.
The White House has said North Korea is not yet capable of striking the U.S., but South Korea and Japan are on edge. Donald Trump, who today went golfing in Florida, is meanwhile pushing China to pressure North Korea to back off. Though, as Trump put it yesterday, one way or another,
North Korea is a problem. The problem will be taken care of.
And don't forget the latest American show of force in Afghanistan. Today, new video of that massive bomb strike yesterday. The strongest non-nuclear weapon in the U.S. arsenal destroyed ISIS tunnels and, say Afghan authorities, killed at least 36 ISIS fighters, adding no known civilians. Says the U.S. commander who ordered the strike.
This was the right weapon against the right target.
Still, the mega bombing is interpreted by many as a signal not only to ISIS, but to North Korea and the world that the U.S. under Donald Trump will do whatever it deems necessary as circumstances arise. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
As Paul mentioned, it's an important weekend for North Korea as the country celebrates the birth of its founder. For more context, we have a report from our Asia correspondent, Sasha Petrusik, who's in Pyongyang. And we want to note that as he works in that country, he's accompanied by a government representative.
North Korea is putting the finishing touches on its biggest national celebration of the year. That's tomorrow, but it may also be getting ready for something far more dangerous. Satellite pictures suggest that Pyongyang is ready to set off an underground nuclear explosion. This would be a test. It's 6 tests so far, and likely its biggest. Now, Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, has a history of setting off these tests to coincide with this national celebration. this time, both his friends and his enemies are telling him not to. But Kim Jong-un doesn't seem to have any intention of stopping either the rhetoric or his tests. And based on the people that we've talked to here on the streets of Pyongyang, at least those who are willing to talk to us, they seem to back him up in defiance. Sasha Petrusek, CBC News, Pyongyang.
From military pressure to economic, Canada is responding to last week's chemical attack in Syria. The federal government announced sanctions on 27 top officials, all part of Bashar al-Assad's regime. Any assets they have in this country would be frozen, and any dealings with them would be prohibited. Global Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland said the move is intended to increase pressure on the Syrian government to stop the violence against innocent children, women, and men. Coming up, North Korea keeps raising the stakes. But if you saw the world through their eyes, you might understand the paranoia.
They're sort of the ultimate realists.
Plus, parking enforcers put in jail. This Edmonton dispute could have national repercussions. Today marks a full year since BC's health officer declared a public health emergency as a plague of powerful opioids swept through the province. Since then, BC has launched a major effort to save lives. But Chris Brown tells us 1 year in, overdose deaths haven't stopped. They haven't even slowed down.
A wall filled with messages of hurt and loss from overdose deaths marks a grim anniversary at the epicenter of Canada's opioid crisis. Whose names have you put on there?
I put my father's and a couple friends. I could be here all day, though. It's bad what's happening down here.
A.C. Morris, a heroin user himself in Vancouver's downtown east side, says he sees no end to the misery.
It's like a crapshoot every time you buy a dope, because you don't know what you're getting. It could be dope, it could be fentanyl, it could be carfentanil.
The overdose crisis claimed 922 lives in BC alone in 2016. In the first 2 months of 2017, there have been a further 219 deaths, for an average of 3.6 drug deaths every day, suggesting things are not improving.
If it continues at this rate, this is going to be a worse year. We hope, of course, that the steps that we're taking can help reverse that, but at the rate we're going, we may have more than 1,000 deaths in 2017.
Come on, Daddy. Come on.
Health officials have doled out naloxone, the antidote to opioid overdoses. They've expanded safe injection sites and set up a mobile hospital. The city even imposed a tax on homeowners to support emergency responders.
Anything that's got a little bit of pink in it, don't take it.
But drug users continue to shoot up on their own inside where they live. And fentanyl works so fast, often they're dead before anyone can help.
We say no more!
Community organizer Sarah Blythe has been one of the biggest advocates for drug users and a voice calling for more help.
What stands out is just the absolute devastation and sadness of just losing so many people so needlessly, because there are solutions.
One solution more and more people are talking about here, including Vancouver's top doctor, is some form of legalization for hard drugs.
This is a crisis of a contamination of an illicit drug supply. Just as the federal government is now putting in place guidelines and policies to manage the supply of cannabis under their regulatory approach, we need to start thinking about that for all illicit drugs.
These people are dying by the hundreds, and you're not doing nothing.
Addicts are skeptical any government will agree to legalization, but on the streets, the sense is it's going to take that type of far-reaching measure to keep more names off the wall. Chris Brown, CBC News, Vancouver.
There's been growing concern in recent years about the long-term health of professional athletes, especially in contact sports like boxing, football, and hockey. Researchers have already found a link between concussions and the degenerative brain disease, CTE. Now, new research is focusing on psychiatric disorders in former NHL players. Ron Charles has the results.
The study of former NHL players may not have found a link between concussions and mental health, but its results are still striking. The study at Toronto's Baycrest Health Sciences included 33 retired NHL players between the ages of 34 and 71 and 18 members of an age-matched comparison group. It found that among the retired NHL players, 59% had psychiatric disorders, while only 19% of the comparison group did. The disorders included depression, substance abuse and dependence, panic disorder, PTSD, and bipolar disorder.
We found on the objective test that
the lead researcher says even though the players had a much higher rate of concussions than the comparison group, her study did not find a relationship between that and the psychiatric disorders. The disorders could have other causes.
Just being a professional athlete, is associated with many things when you leave. You're dealing with, chronic pain, you're dealing with retirement early, and then having to live like the rest of your life, after, being a professional athlete.
Her research is part of a major long-term study into the brain health of a group of former professional hockey players. The volunteers undergo a battery of tests, including MRIs, spinal taps, cognitive and psychiatric exams every 4 years. Scott Thornton is a participant. In his nearly 2-decade NHL career, he suffered his share of concussions.
Although I feel fairly healthy on a regular basis, I have friends that suffer, still a few friends that suffer quite a bit, and I think any opportunity there is to kind of help, a healthy conversation about this and to support some new research was a no-brainer for me to jump in there and do it.
Thornton and the other retired players are due back this year for another round of tests to track how their minds are doing and how their brains are aging. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
A BC financial advisor who mysteriously went missing a year and a half ago has resurfaced. Harold Backer walked into a Victoria police station yesterday and turned himself in.
At this point, there's far more questions than we have answers. That's something that will be looked at, as well as where he's been.
Backer is also a 3-time Olympic rower. He disappeared in November 2015 after telling his wife he was going for a bike ride. Security tape captured him leaving a ferry terminal in Washington state. A few days later, Backer's former clients received letters saying their money, about $3 million in total, was gone. Backer is charged with 2 counts of fraud. He will appear in court on Tuesday. Turkey is headed for a key vote on Sunday, a referendum that could have a seismic effect well beyond its borders. One side is promising stability, but critics say that could lead Turkey sliding into dictatorship. Neil Kuksal reports.
There's an uneasy peace as yes and no campaigners push for votes side by side in Istanbul. This neighborhood is not loyal to Turkey's president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. He needs a yes vote to expand his powers and to extend his presidency. His opposition, though, the no camp, holds court here. But it doesn't matter to Feyza Öz. She's 26, a staffer for Turkey's ruling AK Party, and a history teacher who's put her own future in Erdogan's hands. I trust our president, she says. Our president embraces everyone.
That president is what the yes side is all about. Supporters insist Turkey needs just one leader, and that one leader will make Turkey a more stable country. No more coalition governments, they argue, no more terror threats or coups. But the no camp believes this plan is disastrous for Turkey, that it will give the president too much power with no checks or balances, the ability to approve the budget, dissolve parliament, or declare a state of emergency, and the power to appoint most of the judiciary.
Regardless of who sits there, he or she would definitely become a dictator at the end of the day.
Opposition politicians like Selin Sayek-Böke are reaching out to voters however they can. Obstacles are constant in this campaign.
They've been labeling those of us who actually are pushing for a no as terrorists.
In his most recent rallies, Erdogan's been taking a slightly softer tone towards his rivals, but media coverage of his campaign far outweighs coverage of any of his competitors. And for the pro-Kurdish HDP, there are bigger limitations. 13 of its MPs, including the party's leaders, are in prison on terror allegations. MP Garo Paylan calls it all lies and propaganda.
We asked for a democratic Turkey, and now they are jailing us.
Turkey is a deeply divided nation.
3 out of 4 people in Turkey don't care to be neighbors with people who have voted for different political parties. They don't want their kids to have play dates with kids from families who have voted for different political parties.
Mending those fences won't be easy, regardless of which side wins, on April 16th. Nil Köksal, CBC News, Istanbul.
Straight ahead, your roadside rights. Police may soon have greater powers to test you for intoxication.
A new life for more than 250 people. The Arusa Sun carries refugees from Hungary, those who fought against a tyrannical government and then fled when their cause was crushed by Russian tanks. More than 3,000 people jammed the dockyard to shout their welcome. And they marched down the liner's gangplank onto Canadian soil, accompanied by the music of the Royal 22nd Regiment's band.
Canada is one of the few countries accepting Vietnamese refugees. Under our present quota, by the end of the year, we will have taken 2,000 from Hong Kong. For the past 6 months, it's been up to a dedicated 22-year-old Montrealer, Scott Mullen, to decide who gets in and who doesn't.
Okay, we will accept his application to go to Canada.
How do you know they can adapt to Canada?
Well, if somebody can sail across the South China Sea and spend 2 months on sea, a few months here in a camp situation like this, I think they'll be able to adapt reasonably well.
Noontime, and the would-be refugees are allowed outside for an hour. When the hour is up, they go back, single file, into the stuffy gymnasium that is their home. The Canadian government hasn't had to publicly explain why it's detaining these people for so long, except to say that it doesn't yet know for sure who they really are or whether they'll show up for their immigration hearings.
All of the other illegal immigrants that have come here, they haven't been treated that way.
The turbans and beards are a great influence.
Members of the local Sikh community are upset with the way the government and the way the Canadian public has reacted to this latest boatload of people. This is the image that stands out most in people's minds.
I think they should ship them all back where they come from.
Canada will give political asylum to 26,000 Yugoslavian refugees. While it's welcome news, refugee advocates say the Canadian government is playing a dangerous double standard. They say refugees from Somalia should get the same treatment as those from Yugoslavia.
As we know, the civil war and also the famine has displaced millions of people.
Yesterday, Somalis protested outside of immigration offices calling for fair treatment.
But Somalia is more than Sarajevo. So if they don't give it down to Somalia...
Different language, different culture, different lives. You can see the strain on so many faces. Crammed into a gymnasium, the refugees listen to the Prime Minister explain he hopes they can one day return to their homeland if they choose.
And I'm sure that you can feel at home among us.
When the federal government unveiled its plan to legalize pot this week, it was keen to emphasize it wasn't promoting drugs, but rather public safety. While cannabis use will soon be legal, Ottawa will introduce tougher laws on driving drunk or high. As Katie Simpson explains, there are concerns the new plan may go too far.
Police across the country are expecting to get bold new powers to crack down on impaired drivers. It's a move aimed at making roads safer at the same time the government rolls out its marijuana legalization plan. In Canada's largest city, officers appear ready for the anticipated changes.
We have 200 officers capable of offering those types of tests to the individuals, as well as we have an additional 15 drug recognition experts. So we are actually well staffed at this point.
The proposed law will allow police to demand saliva for roadside tests from drivers they suspect are high. Limits will also be set for how much of the active chemical THC can legally be in a person's system while driving. Lower-level readings could lead to a fine of up to $1,000. Higher-level readings could come with jail time. And drivers who drink and dope could face fines and jail time for repeat offenders.
We do think, though, with the legalization that we will see an uptake in people using marijuana, but also in people driving while drug impaired. So it's incumbent upon the government to bring these changes in.
Ottawa is also planning to toughen drunk driving laws. Mandatory roadside testing would be allowed, meaning police could demand a breath test from any driver they stop. Right now, officers can only do that if they have reasonable suspicion a driver has been drinking.
Mandatory roadside testing, which is proven in other jurisdictions to significantly reduce the number of deaths on the highway.
But that measure will likely face a constitutional challenge, as some defense lawyers say the change is too broad.
State power should be limited to having some requirement to articulate a reason why a person's liberty is being even momentarily restricted.
The Justice Minister says she's confident the new measures in the proposed law are constitutional and will stand up to any legal challenge. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Easter long weekend got off to a messy start in the prairies. Parts of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta were under winter storm warnings today. Heavy snow and low visibility made for some dangerous driving conditions in Edmonton. Some of central Alberta could see up to 30 centimeters of snow by tomorrow. A ferry from Newfoundland that was stranded for 30 hours off Quebec has been escorted to shore. The Apollo was stuck in thick ice with 70 people on board. This afternoon, an icebreaker cleared a path so the boat could dock. The so-called Denver Boot has been a parking enforcement tool for decades, used to crack down on drivers who don't pay their tickets. But increasingly, private companies are clamping cars in Canada. And as Terry Reith found in Edmonton, some employees are finding themselves in trouble with the police.
And the cop says you can't do this.
Well,
I'll call the cops now and bring them down here.
If that's what
you can't do this.
It's a confrontation Deanne Elliott has grown used to.
usually once every 5-6 days we'll run into someone who will call the police.
She even calls police dispatch back to see how long she'll be waiting.
You have to take that boot off the vehicle or you can be charged.
Turns out, not long.
What's the problem?
She has been to jail before, in December.
I'm not even doing anything.
You were under arrest for mischief.
Held overnight in RCMP cells in neighboring Sherwood Park. Her business partner has been to jail twice already.
They watched us take a boot out of the back of the vehicle. They rushed over and threw handcuffs and ankle shackles on us. They didn't ask a single question. They just said, "You're under arrest."
RFM wants to grow into the country's largest parking enforcement firm, using the so-called Denver Boot as a means of discouraging people from parking where they shouldn't and extracting fines of up to $300 to have it removed.
Very much a gray area.
Even the association representing parking lot owners has reservations. The law isn't clear on when or how it can be used, and it makes people mad. But for lot owners, it's highly effective.
It's an immediate resolution. It gets the driver can't go anywhere until they deal with the issue of their illegal parking.
The cities of Saskatoon and Montreal actually use the boot to help collect on unpaid parking tickets. But in both places, it's put on by bylaw officers or bailiffs. In Edmonton, police have decided that independent operators in private parking lots are breaking the law. In a written statement, it says the act itself met the threshold of a criminal offense. But RFM refuses to back down, accusing Edmonton's police chief of persecution.
Edmonton seems to be the only place out of all of Canada that seems to have an issue. There's no statute, there's no legislation, there's nothing governing our business that's saying that we're unlawful.
So they continue to boot cars and risk arrest, hoping to get a case to court and set a legal precedent, which will impact delinquent parking and how it's enforced throughout the country. Terry Reith, CBC News, Edmonton.
Coming up, the things you don't understand about North Korea.
They do believe that the world is out to get them and that they have serious security concerns that they need to deal with.
We look behind the mystery and the mockery to see what it's really after. Plus, looking for the truth about teen brains on pot.
The game is Space War. It is played on a computer. At the moment, it provides esoteric sport for young mathematicians at MIT. Someday, it may train them to fight a war in space.
Whether it's the nice zingy sound they make, the electronic challenge, or just the thrill of controlling what happens on a television screen, TV games are exerting a powerful fascination.
What do you think of the game you're playing?
I love it.
These students at the University of Alberta in Edmonton have developed a series of games that can be played on the computer.
The idea of the game is to manipulate the cursor towards your enemy until you get him in the center. And once you've got him there, bang, and he's dead.
Defender, Asteroids, Missile Command, the names of some of the arcade hits that are attracting millions of video addicts every day. Video junkies have a current favorite. Someone even wrote a song about Pac-Man. Pac-Man grossed more money in arcades last year than the movie Star Wars, one of the most successful Hollywood films. These are not games you would find in an arcade. They are the latest generation of home video. And this is where the real boom in the industry is occurring.
I don't play that much.
They're really addicted to this thing.
This is a story about a game some say is so exciting, so enthralling, so much fun, that if you ever start playing, you won't be able to stop. Your fingers flying over buttons as you jump, fly, crush, and kill your way through an alternate reality.
Alluring, fascinating, compelling. A curse.
They're video games, the flashy, trashy offshoots of the computer revolution.
Its programmers say we haven't seen anything yet.
The first, the best known, the sex change operation was one performed about 15 years ago on a young ex-GI named George Jorgensen, who went to Copenhagen and came back as Christine. When Christine's story was told around the world, there were applications from hundreds of young men who wanted to undergo the same kind of operation.
Well, Diana, now that you're officially a woman, how does it feel?
I feel absolutely marvelous, thank you.
Did you always want to be a woman?
As long as I can remember, sir, yes.
And now that you are, what do you miss most about being a man?
I never was really in intensity a man, or psychologically, so I miss nothing about my malehood.
Lee Davis of Ottawa was born a woman. Recently, after a number of medical operations, Lee Davies became a man.
I was only a kid. I felt different. I mean, I knew I wasn't, my body wasn't what my mind was saying I was. My mind was totally male.
Caroline's surgery 17 years ago gave her the woman's body she dreamt of and a model's salary of $200,000 a year. No one questioned her femininity. In fact, she modeled for 7 years before the British tabloids made her story public. She even played a Bond girl in a 007 film. It's only the British government that doesn't accept the change.
I'm sort of classified still as a man. I mean, I break the law every day if I use the women's toilet. I mean, I can't really use the men's. I mean, if I committed a crime, I'd be in a men's prison.
They're further along than people want to give them credit for, and they're continuing faster given all the tensions in the region.
Dozens of missile tests, 5 nuclear weapons tests. And if analysts and officials are right, more just around the corner. North Korea is quickly becoming Donald Trump's foremost foreign policy challenge. North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, is often portrayed as a madman with the bomb. But according to those familiar with the regime, the view from the brink isn't so simple.
We have a big problem. We have somebody that is not doing the right thing.
Every country is in danger from the actions of North Korea.
우리의 최고 존엄을 노린 이제와 괴뢰 군부 허전강들의 특수작전 흉계가 명백해지고 위험천만한 선제 타격 기도까지 드러난 이상
This is a threat of both rhetoric and growing capability.
미국이 원하는 그 어떤 전쟁에도 기꺼이 대응해줄 의지도 능력도 다 가지고 있다.
The rhetoric has escalated as North Korea's missiles cut through the sky and fuel a sense of imminent threat. The U.S. has moved an aircraft carrier group to the Korean Peninsula, underscoring the meaning behind the standard U.S. diplomatic code for war.
All options are on the table.
North Korea's leader, Kim Jong-un, is rapidly developing a missile capable of delivering a nuclear warhead that can reach the U.S.
Kim Jong-un, this crazy fat kid that's running North Korea.
And in the assessment of some officials, politicians, and commentators, he's a foe beyond the reach of reason.
I appreciate all of my counterparts wanting to talk about talks and negotiations. We are not dealing with a rational person.
I don't see them as irrational. I think there's certainly a values clash, and there's certainly, he's a dictator. But he's very calculated, and even Kim Jong-il, when he was in power, was very calculated. They're sort of the ultimate realists, as they do believe that the world is out to get them, and that they have serious security concerns that they need to deal with in that process.
Pyongyang has no Cold War alliance to protect it. The Soviet Union is long gone. China's relations with North Korea's bizarre dynastic dictatorship have declined. And North Korea can't ignore the tens of thousands of U.S. troops, along with South Korean allies, that have been stationed at the North's border ever since the Korean War, which technically never ended.
When you're a small country in the middle of all the big powers, and you're sort of the hated one of all of this, it makes you a little bit more paranoid, and it makes you want to be able to have your own capabilities and your own sort of exit plan.
In our country, the atomic power industry has been created for peaceful purpose. That is, for the development of the economy and welfare of the people.
The U.S. became concerned about Pyongyang's nuclear program in the 80s. Washington offered aid and peaceful nuclear technology in return for disarmament in the 90s.
North Korea cannot be allowed to develop a nuclear bomb. We have to be very firm about it.
But North Korea seemed to stall and evade inspections, and everything unraveled in the early 2000s.
States like these and their terrorist allies constitute an axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world.
Since then, a pattern has emerged with dictators the U.S. doesn't like. Saddam Hussein was tried and executed. Muammar Gaddafi never made it to a trial.
Somebody shot him by gun, 9 million.
Nukes were an insurance policy they didn't have, and North Korea knows it.
Things that have happened in Libya, in Iraq, and now even with Syria, you saw the first thing that Kim Jong-un did, and North Korea did after the strikes on Syria, was to say that here, this justifies the notion that we had that the U.S. is out to get us.
오늘의 현실은 힘에는 오직 힘으로 맞서야 하며 핵무력을 비상히 강화해 온 우리의 선택이 천만 번 옳았다는 것을 실증해주고 있다.
The propaganda is relentless. The system itself seems like a wild-eyed cult to the outside world.
All North Koreans have to believe the leader as a god. There is no exception. When you go in North Korea, before you remember your name, you have to remember the name of leaders. Before you remember your birthday, you have to remember their birthdays. First thing that I learned from nursery was this information. And then this kind of brainwashing system goes to forever until you die.
But according to many defectors, faith in the national religion is often an act that neither leaders nor their population truly believes.
In the near future, we will connect internet.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have a date for when?
In the near future.
In the
near future.
But people don't believe it. They're really sick of it because they have watched this information for their lives. They don't believe it. Of course, they pretend respect the government in front of people, but in private life, they don't care about the government. They just care about money. They just care about how to make a lot of money for their life. So North Korea is changing.
Political control in North Korea is violent and extreme. But while Kim Jong-un clamps down on contraband and border security, analysts say his free market reforms are growing the economy, and that many North Koreans support his nuclear policy.
Domestically, I think Kim Jong-un's advancement of these programs tied with better economic conditions inside the country have actually increased his popularity domestically.
Western media, of course, they kind of they portrayed Kim Jong-un as a pig and really fat man. He doesn't know fashion. His hairstyle is really stupid. You know what? That's really stupid thing to describe him. He's really rational. He's not stupid. He's really smart.
The U.S. has few options. The Trump administration has put its faith in China.
President Xi wants to do the right thing. I think he wants to help us with North Korea.
But China's actual leverage over North Korea is debatable. Just ask Kim Jong-un's uncle, Jang Song-taek.
Jang Song-taek was very popular with the Chinese, had very deep relations with the Chinese, and had, a very well-established reputation with the Chinese. And I think there's a certain degree to which Kim Jong-un, when he came to power, once he had established a strong enough core, decided that he didn't want to be a puppet of the Chinese.
Kim executed his uncle in 2013. He has not visited Beijing, nor shaken hands with China's leader, Xi Jinping.
I think people they tend to overestimate the influence that China would have.
Sanctions on North Korea could still be tightened. Recently, China has blocked coal imports. But after decades of practice, Pyongyang is adept at dodging and mitigating sanctions. And for all the posturing, the annual military exercises, the talk of decapitation strikes, war is almost unthinkable.
It would be a disaster, complete disaster. And you do have the potential of nuclear weapons being used.
American allies would have to prepare for a catastrophic retaliation. Even if the U.S. mainland remains safe, tens of millions of people are within range of North Korean artillery and missile strikes.
Retaliation could be on Seoul, it could be on Tokyo, it could be on islands in Japan as sort of more of a warning. So it could get very messy very fast, and then you would have World War III on your hands.
Two nation is on kind of how can I say, is in the chicken game. Yes, it's kind of chicken game, yeah.
The outlook for diplomacy looks grim. North Korea's goals are regime security and prosperity. A hard sell when there's no mutual trust.
Without giving up on nuclear weapons, then he cannot improve the national economy. That's the dilemma. If North Korea dismantle the nuclear weapon, then United States has to provide national security and then huge economic aid. Donald Trump won't do this. So that's why Kim Jong-un is in dilemma, and Donald Trump also in dilemma.
Right now, there are no direct talks with North Korea, but time is running out. And if all options are on the table, no matter how ugly, calls to negotiate with Pyongyang will grow louder. When we come back, the concerns over young people smoking pot. How real are the dangers, and how do you convince the kids?
I do try to use it safely as I can to make sure that I am not one of those kids that you look at and they're like, oh, like they obviously smoke pot, like they can't handle themselves, they're such high bags.
High bags. Last time researchers looked, Canadian teens led the developed world in pot smoking. This week, the federal government said its new pot law will curtail underage use. Critics say it'll give youth a green light. Pot's been vilified as dangerous and hyped as harmless. Chris Brown looked into what we actually know about pot and teen brains last year. Now that the road to legalization is clear, it's time for a second look.
Myths have always clouded the conversation about marijuana. Teenagers first heard it would turn them into delinquents, could make them crazy. Lately, a new, more positive narrative has emerged, visible through the smoke in the huge turnout for 420 celebrations. That message is that weed is harmless. In fact, it's smart medicine. With legalization coming to Canada, now is the time to agree on which version is closer to the truth. What really are the risks to developing teenage brains? I'm curious, what do you think smoking a lot of marijuana will do to your young brains?
I think the older community has a lot of built-up ideas about that, thinks it's going to wreck our brains. So far, I'm doing well.
How much do you smoke?
Every day.
You smoke every day and you don't think it's going to hurt your brain in the long run?
Not really.
There are probably thousands of high schoolers who skip school to be here to get stoned.
I do a lot of research with marijuana, and I have read with recent studies that they have noticed it does not lower the IQ. So I do try to use it safely as I can to make sure that I am not one of those kids that you look at and they're like, oh, like they obviously smoke pot, like they can't handle themselves, they're such high bags.
How much do you smoke?
I probably smoke about 3 grams in a day.
3 grams a day?
Yeah.
That's an awful lot, isn't it?
Yeah, used to be worse, but cut down.
I've been smoking weed for about 4 years now, so it has become part of my daily routine.
And you don't think that's could have some long-term impacts on your brain?
No, because I do keep my brain fresh. I try to keep it active.
We met Samantha Martinek. At 24, she's out of school and says not only did smoking up not hurt her, it's actually made her a better person.
So I smoked weed all through university, and I was on the dean's list the whole entire time. It wasn't something that turned me into, like a dead brain person like most people say, but it's just, I don't know, it was just something that soothed me and relaxed me. It doesn't make me dumb, it doesn't make me dependent.
Over and over, we heard teenagers tell us that marijuana is a lot safer than some of the other stuff kids are taking.
Well, I'm just saying they're giving kids a bunch of messed up pills anyway, right? That mess up their brains, like ADHD pills, and they shouldn't be taking those, so might as well just be smoking pot. It's a lot better for you.
We now know that lots of high achievers smoked a fair bit of marijuana when they were teens, and they turned out okay. People such as Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, and Canadian actor Seth Rogen. Some early efforts to demonize marijuana users now seem utterly ridiculous.
I know what you want. You want to kill me. You're crazy.
The 1930s cult classic Reefer Madness portrayed pot smokers as lunatics.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
By the 1980s, the tactics had become more refined, but the scary message was the same.
Any questions?
We know that the teenage brain is undergoing a significant amount of development during the period of adolescence. So this is about up to the age of 25.
Dr. Amy Porath-Waller is the Director of Research with the Canadian Centre for Substance Abuse.
We know that marijuana can impact cognitive functioning, so skills such as memory, the ability to plan.
Her group's latest report, compiling all that scientists have discovered about marijuana and young brains, paints a scary picture. The brain's prefrontal cortex, which controls key functions such as decision-making, judgment, planning, and problem-solving, appears very susceptible to cannabis. Just as the brain is wiring itself, THC essentially hijacks the process and confuses things. But there are some big caveats. Scientists also think how much people smoke and how potent the marijuana is plays a role. And so do other behaviors, like combining heavy drinking with heavy marijuana use. Then there's the question of whether marijuana is addictive or a gateway to harder drugs. The answer seems to be not in the same way tobacco and alcohol are, but people can still become dependent.
I feel guilty. I do. I have for a long time. Here we go.
People such as Matt Cholo.
That was good. That was the right amount.
He's 24 and lives in Toronto, and he blames excessive marijuana use as a teen and right up to the present for ruining his dreams. Dreams that included making a living from his favorite pastime, golf.
It's impressive.
Not going to get much better than that.
We met up at the Don Valley Golf Course, a place that's like a second home for him.
And what would be your ideal job?
I just want to teach.
Cholo is good.
And soft.
But he should be better.
Soft.
A teen phenom, he says he slid backwards after he started smoking a lot of marijuana.
I wish I'd never started because it's taken control of my life. It's turned me into something I don't like. It's totally ruined my character. Again, with the confidence, I don't believe in myself anymore.
Being a touring pro was always a long shot, but a teaching pro, getting his professional designation and working his way up at a club, that he felt was totally within reach.
All my drive went out the window. All I wanted to do was be in bed and smoke weed.
Kind of robbed you of your drive, your motivation?
Exactly. But it's more so just kept me in that depressed state of mind.
He says he's tried to quit, but surrounded by pot-smoking friends, a series of depressing breakups, and long winters without golf, and he says he has not been able to stop.
I could almost hear people, though, when they hear your story, say, well, he's clearly got bigger problems than marijuana.
Yes, but marijuana has created some of those problems, not all of them, but some of those problems would not be there if it wasn't for weed. It's brought out the demons in me, that's for sure.
This summer, Cholo has found a golf-related job that he hopes will be a stepping stone. Maybe it's the year he can turn things around.
That's the one.
To the warriors of the legalization movement, talk of dependence and of brain damage sounds like a lot more reefer madness.
I feel like some progress has been made, but now we have to address this myth of inherent harm to young people. And unless we deal with that issue, we're just going to get stuck with a crappy version of legalization.
David Malmo-Levine is one of Vancouver's legendary marijuana crusaders. He's fought Canada's marijuana laws in the Supreme Court.
If you're harmless, you should not be harmed.
And lost. He's also poured his efforts into debunking the notion that marijuana is harmful by writing books and dispensing advice along with marijuana.
Why do you call it a myth?
If cannabis makes you stupid and crazy, and if the use rates have skyrocketed since the 1950s and 60s, that would show up in the general population statistics, but it doesn't. And they won't explain it. I talked to Vancouver Coastal Health. I talked to the Center for Substance Abuse, and nobody will explain. No one will even enter a dialogue and look at the evidence. It's like they're going like this, la la la, pot is harmful to teens, pot is harmful to teens.
In a book full of advice to the Justice Minister on how to legalize, Malmo-Levine says the worst harm that can come to teens is by having a criminal record for using marijuana.
So what would you do if you were writing these rules with this opportunity to legalize?
Well, I'd follow the Senate report's recommendations and say 16 and over can buy in stores, 15 and under with a parental and physician supervision, they can also access cannabis, and then we can protect all our young people from harm.
There's widespread agreement now that better research and education on marijuana use is crucial.
There is a lot of conflicting information out there.
This recent forum brought together parents and experts, including Dr. Joy Johnson. She led one of Canada's largest research projects on why teenagers use marijuana.
420!
And she believes the big challenge in a legalized world is to find the right message of restraint for younger users.
There's going to be no magic bullet for this. I'll be really clear. And we know that from a long history of doing research in the area of health education. I do think the one thing we do know is that scare tactics do not work. Providing unbalanced messages don't work. To kind of denigrate them in any way, lazy or etc. That's really not where we need to go. So I think that there's a lot of thoughtfulness that we need to put into this as we move forward.
These will be among the first kids to live in a country where it's not a crime to get high on marijuana. We visited Bishop Morocco Catholic Secondary School in Toronto.
Do you think more teenagers, more people your age will use marijuana if it's legal?
Where teachers let us lead a discussion on what students think legalization could mean to them.
I don't think it'll make a difference because I think people will smoke it either way, legal, not legal. I think legalizing is just kind of like a title.
How old do you think you should have to be to buy marijuana in a legal environment?
I think you should be above the age of at least 23 because your brain isn't fully developed until the age of 20, 22. So you shouldn't be smoking drugs that affects your brain growth until after.
Even if you set the legal age to 22, 23, people are still going to do it younger than that.
As for health risks, the kids here, like the experts, say it's hard to sort through the mixed messages. One of the consequences of a century of marijuana prohibition in Canada is that we still don't fully understand its harms or its benefits, or even how to talk properly about using it. It is a crucial conversation, and with teenagers, it's only just starting. Chris Brown, CBC News, Vancouver.
Up next, two stories on two fires. One of them is highly ironic.
Monday, October 19th, the slide that didn't stop. Stock markets around the world go into a tailspin.
It's Black Monday. There's never been a day like this one on the stock market. Panic selling has shattered records.
Fear, pandemonium, and incredible force wreaking havoc in financial markets throughout the world.
It's bad, bad.
One word, plummet.
Panic selling.
Panic selling, that's all it is.
Crazy in there. It's really busy, really hectic.
Jeffrey, not a good day.
By the closing bell on the New York Stock Exchange, the Dow Jones Industrial Average had plunged a record 508 points for a one-day loss of 22.6%, far surpassing the 12.8% drop on October 28, 1929, the day some say heralded in the Great Depression.
The Great Crash in 1929. The day the market fell, stocks plummeted in value, paper fortunes wiped out, and much of the world left with a headache that lasted for a full decade.
What was it like? You were there 40 years ago. Well, it was bedlam and madness and fright and terror, and in some cases people committing suicide who had several $1 million at one moment, and then within a week they had nothing. Could it ever happen again? I suppose everything can happen again.
Stock markets around the world went on a wild ride today.
190 points in the morning, then down again, then up again, finally closing up by 102 points. A record one-day gain, which nevertheless recouped only a fifth of yesterday's big losses.
They're all coming back now. Even the dogs have a new day.
The economic fundamentals in this country remain sound, and our citizens should not panic.
Governments today acted swiftly and decisively. They lowered interest rates and they pumped billions of dollars into the financial system. Moves designed to end the fear that the stock market crash will precipitate an economic recession.
It's just a crazy market. You can be dead in 20 minutes.
We're looking for some more sizable swings, sometimes up, sometimes down for the next few weeks, before it's really clear what the trend will be.
Another volatile day on financial markets throughout the world. Prices started plunging in London. Panic quickly spread as Wall Street opened for business.
Sold it, number 46.
and it put all other North American stock exchanges into another nosedive.
Glad the weekend's here. One more day to go. Thank God. Lose my voice as it is. I know that. Oh, wait a minute. Yes.
In the U.S. alone, $600 billion were wiped off the value of stocks in a single week. Investors could only watch in helpless fascination.
Even if you lost tens of thousands of dollars, you know, you could find something, you know, it's fascinating. The way sometimes a bloodbath is fascinating.
While no one was hurt, a roadside fire has caught an unusual amount of attention today. This fire truck may have conquered many a blaze in its day, but not this one. The driver was delivering it from Kansas City to a fire department in Canada when he smelled something burning. He escaped just before it burst into flames. Unlike so many pyrotechnic displays in Las Vegas, this fire last night at the iconic Bellagio Hotel was not part of the show. Firefighters had it under control in minutes. No word yet on the cause. And that's the National for this Friday night. For news at any hour, you can always go to cbcnews.ca. I'm Wendy Mesley. Thanks for watching.